Professor thought the void crawler would terrify students. It hid. Beginning. The lecture hall smelled faintly of copper and ozone, the kind of scent that followed any experiment with dimensional matter. Rows of young cadets filled the amphitheater-style seats, their uniforms crisp and their datapads glowing as they took notes. At the center of the chamber, framed beneath a dome of transparent shielding, Professor Arlen Cates adjusted his spectacles and tapped his wrist console. He had taught xenobiology for 37 years, and he prided himself on being the kind of man who could keep a room silent with a single raised eyebrow. Today, though, silence wasn't enough. He wanted awe, no terror. His students were too comfortable, too bold. They thought that studying alien life was an intellectual exercise, that all species could be cataloged like botanical samples. Arlen Cates would prove them wrong. Behind him, a chamber hissed. The lights dimmed automatically as containment fields snapped into place. Mist coiled inside the dome, swirling as though reluctant to release its occupant. Cadets, Arlen's voice boomed, sharp and theatrical. Today you will meet the void crawler. A murmur swept through the hall. Void crawlers, he continued, pacing in front of the chamber, are creatures dredged from the edge of known reality. Born in the rift between dimensions, they are living paradoxes. Hunters, predators, even the Federation's most advanced soldiers dread encountering one. Gasps, nervous laughter. A few cadets leaned forward, eager, hungry for spectacle. Arlen smiled thinly. You will not forget this day, because today you will see why xenobiology is not simply the study of life, but the study of survival. With a flourish, he tapped the console. The mist dissolved. The containment lights snapped bright blue. And inside the dome, nothing. At first, the students thought perhaps the crawler was too small to see. They craned their necks, waiting. A flicker of shadow seemed to move along the walls of the chamber, then vanished. Professor K frowned. He adjusted his glasses, squinting at the readouts. Heart rate, absent. Energy signature, erratic. Coordinates, scrambled. The void crawler was hiding. Middle. Confusion spread across the cadets like wildfire. Is it invisible? Someone whispered. Professor, is this part of the demonstration? Another called. Cates ignored them, though his jaw tightened. The crawler should have lunged at the barrier by now, thrashing against it, its eyeless head splitting open to reveal serrated mandibles. He had spent months petitioning the Federation to transport a live specimen here, promising that he had perfected the containment protocols. And now, in front of 100 impressionable cadets, the beast was cowering? The console flickered. Anomalous readings. Gravitational dips inside the dome, light distortion around the edges. The crawler was present, but folded into itself, refusing to manifest fully. Cates' assistant, Lyra Miles, stepped closer. She was younger, a brilliant graduate student with hair tied into a neat braid, and far less prone to theatrics. Her eyes scanned the holographic diagnostics. Professor, she said carefully, it's hiding in the dimensional fold. It doesn't want to be seen. That's impossible. Cates' voice was sharper than he intended. Void crawlers are apex predators. They don't hide. They strike. Lyra bit her lip. Unless... The cadets leaned in. Unless what? Cates demanded. Unless it's afraid, Lyra finished. The word hung in the air like a drop weight. Students shifted uncomfortably, their earlier bravado faltering. From inside the dome came a sound, a low, trembling hum, as though a throatless creature was vibrating the air with its very being. The lights flickered. The shadows seemed to crawl up the glass. But still, nothing emerged. Cates' pride bristled. This was not the spectacle he had promised. He was losing control of the lesson, and worse, his authority. Students, he barked, do not be deceived. The void crawler is a terror beyond comprehension. Its instincts are to hunt, to kill. This behavior is an anomaly. But the cadets weren't listening to him anymore. They were staring at the dome, whispering. The idea that something so fearsome could feel fear itself unnerved them far more than claws or teeth ever could. Professor, Lyra murmured, I think it senses a crowd. Too many minds at once. Maybe it sees us the way we see the void, an overwhelming expanse. Cates' pulse quickened. He had wanted to terrify his students. Now he felt an unfamiliar chill creeping down his spine. Because if the void crawler was afraid, what could possibly frighten it? That night, long after the cadets had been dismissed, Cates stayed behind in the lab. The dome glowed faintly in the darkened hall, its mist swirling like a restless dream. The crawler still refused to show itself. Lyra lingered as well, tapping quietly on her datapad. Professor, I've been reviewing the telemetry. The crawler wasn't reacting to us specifically. It was reacting to something else. Kate glanced up. What else? She hesitated. A signal. Faint, but there. When you activated the dome, it seems to have awakened something beyond. Kate frowned. Nonsense. The containment is self-sufficient. It cannot generate dimensional resonance beyond the chamber. But even as he said it, the shadows inside the dome deepened. Something vast and unseen pressed against the glass on the other side. Not the crawler, but something larger, like a silhouette brushing past a window. The crawler's hum rose, frantic, a keening wail that vibrated through the bones. Lyra's face drained of color. It's not hiding from us. It's hiding from that. For the first time in years, Professor Arlen Cade felt genuine terror. Over the following days, the university debated whether to terminate the specimen. Administrators feared lawsuits. Cadets whispered of omens, of forbidden things bleeding into their world. Cade argued fiercely to keep it alive. It is a discovery of a lifetime, he insisted. If the void crawler is afraid, then we must know why. Knowledge lies not in destruction, but in understanding. But privately, Cade wrestled with sleepless nights. The crawler's hum invaded his dreams. He saw glimpses of impossible horizons, black seas under green stars, shapes moving in the distance. He would wake sweating, heart pounding, certain that something had stared back at him from the dark. Lyra, meanwhile, grew gentler toward the creature. She spoke softly to it, leaving the lights low, recording how the shadows shifted when her voice filled the chamber. It responds, she told Kate one morning, not with aggression, but recognition. Maybe it knows we're trying to understand. Kate grunted. He was less certain. The crawler's hum was no longer fear alone. It was a warning. Climax. 2 weeks after the failed lecture, alarm shrieked through the university at 0300 hours. Kate rushed the hall, heart hammering. The dome was cracked. Not shattered, just hairline fractures spidering across the transparent alloy. The crawler thrashed within, its shadow form barely coherent, mandibles flashing in and out of existence. But it wasn't trying to escape. It was trying to stay inside. On the other side of the fractures, reality itself warped. Students and guards who had rushed and staggered back as the walls of the hall bled into impossible angles. Colors not meant for human eyes bled into the room. A cold, sucking wind roared through cracks in the air itself. And from beyond the dome came a sound. It wasn't a roar. It wasn't a voice. It was a grinding of a planet's bones, the scream of gravity twisting, the whisper of eternity pressing close. The thing the crawler feared had arrived. Professor, Lyra shouted over the alarms. We have to seal the chamber. Shut it down before it breaks through. Kate stared, frozen. His entire career, he had wanted to show students terror. Now he realized terror was not claws or teeth or shadows. Terror was the infinite pressing its face against your world, eager to step inside. The crawler's shadow twisted toward him. Its eyeless head flared open, mandibles spread, not in hunger, but in desperate plea. Help me. That was what Kate saw, what he felt, in the space between its vibrations. Do it, he bellowed. Lyra slammed her palm on the console. Energy surged. The dome flared with blinding light, collapsing the fractures inward. The sound from beyond rose to a shriek, then cut off as the chamber folded shut, sealing the dimensional breach. Silence. The crawler collapsed into itself, trembling shadow fading until only a faint hum remained. Alive, but broken. Kate sank to his knees. His heart thundered, sweat dripping down his brow. He had wanted to be the master of terror. Instead, he had become its witness. Ending. The university hushed the incident. Officially, nothing had happened. The dome remained sealed, its occupant listed as quarantined for research. But among the cadets, whispers spread. The day the void crawler hid. The day the professor who thought nothing could scare him was brought to his knees. Cade continued to teach, but his lectures changed. No more theatrics, no more booming declarations. He spoke instead with quiet reverence, warning his students not of monsters, but of mysteries. There are things in this universe, he would say, that make predators tremble. Life is not a ladder with us at the top. It is a labyrinth, and sometimes when you shine a light, you will see shadows looking back. Lyra remained by his side, studying the crawler with patience. Over time, its hum softened in her presence, no longer frantic, but steady, almost trusting. And Cade? At night, he still dreamed of green stars and black seas. He dreamed of something vast and patient, still watching from the other side. But he no longer sought to terrify his students, because he knew the truth. Terror was already here, and it was waiting.